When trying to either recover or reinforce hip internal rotation or external rotation, we have to recognize that it really comes from a couple of places primarily, not just from the hip, but from the ilium as well. So if I'm focused on my right side and I want to recover hip internal rotation, I have to make sure that I also drive pelvic internal rotation on that side, which means that the pelvis on the right side has to come in and back. You can see how that's also going to create motion at the tailbone, at the sacrum. So if we want to recover or reinforce pelvic external rotation on the right side in this case, I would also want that side of the pelvis to come forward as it externally rotates, which would help me drive more external rotation at the hip. One of my favorite exercises for this is the chop and the lift. We can do this kneeling and we can do this standing, but I want to go over the mechanics of how to drive both internal and external rotation at the hip, at the pelvis, with the chop and the lift. We're going to do that in a kneeling position. We're also going to take a look at what that looks like if we are going to stand up against gravity and load the entire chain. Okay, when we're thinking about chops and lifts, we have a couple things to consider. Do we want internal rotation at the hip or do we want external rotation at the hip? And remember, the point is to drive not just internal rotation at the hip or external rotation at the hip, but also at the pelvis. Also, do we want to unload the spine or do we want to load the spine? Okay, so remember, just like anything else, I mean, if you're pushing up against gravity, you're going to get more of a load through that spine. You need more core stability. You need more ability to stay organized in that stacked position if you're going to load the spine. If we're pulling down, that would be just like doing a pull-up or maybe a dead hang. We're unloading the spine in that case. So if I'm pulling down, I'm unloading the spine. If I'm pushing up into a lift, I'm going to load the spine, and that requires more core stability. So for the most part, most of the time, I start with unloading the spine. I ask people to pull into a chop. Now you'll see here, once I grab the handle, if I'm rotating my upper body over my right hip, that's internal rotation at the right hip. My right hip is not moving, my upper body is moving, but I'm placing my upper body over the top, across and over the top of my right hip. That's going to be internal rotation of the hip. You'll also notice that as I grab the handle here, I don't want to, you'll know if you're doing it right. If you're searching for more internal rotation, you'll know you're doing it right if you don't run the handle into your thigh. So I'm going to switch back over here, looking for internal rotation at the right hip. I'm going to pull to the chest. I'm going to exhale, put that handle in my pocket. I'm going to stay stacked, keep that glute. That, in this case, my right glute is going to be on. I'm going to gently engage that right glute, and I'm going to go back, breathe in, to the chest, back overhead, to the chest, into the pocket. You can also see that my gaze is going to follow the handle. I want my entire spine to rotate all the way up to the neck. Okay, so that's internal rotation of the right hip. Now, if I wanted to focus on external rotation, again, not wanting to drive that handle into my thigh, I'm going to work on external rotation in this position in tall kneeling. I'm going to be equally distributed both knees, and I'm going to be turning away, in this case, from my left hip. So that's where I'm going to capture external rotation of the left hip in the tall kneeling position. Same thing, pull to the chest. I'm pushing down, which means my spine is unloaded, doesn't require quite as much coordination, quite as much core stability. And you'll notice as you push away toward the right hip, so I'm working on the left hip, as I push toward the right hip, you're going to notice that left glute engages even more as you come across. So same thing, pull to the chest, push into the pocket. And if you want to drive more external rotation, that would mean that you're going to breathe in on the way down. So breathe out, breathe in. Okay, so now that we've performed the chop, let's go ahead and work on the lift. Same considerations as before. With the lift, we're going to be pulling that to our chest, raising that up against gravity. You're going to immediately feel it requires more core stability through the thorax. And you'll also notice that we want to lift up over the raised knee. So initially here, I'm going to work on, this is going to be more external rotation of the grounded leg, in this case the left leg, and you're going to feel a lot more glute engagement, a lot more thorax and core engagement as I lift over the raised leg. And so once again, you want to pull to the chest, push away, and then come back. Now if you wanted to work on internal rotation using the lift, it would be the same as before, just reversed. So we'd want to go to both knees, maybe focus on getting the weight shifted over to that right side, pull to the chest, and push up toward the ceiling. Back to the chest. And so in this case, you can see I'm getting internal rotation using the lift exercise on that right side. Okay, so now that we've used the chop and the lift in the kneeling position, let's go ahead and see how this works in the standing position. So working the chop and the lift in standing is pretty similar. If I have my right foot forward, if I step back with my left foot, and I bring that cable across my body, I'm going to be working internal rotation on the right side. You'll see I'm kind of in a split stance position. My toes are loaded on the opposite side, on the left side. And especially if I'm working internal rotation, I want to make sure that I keep the heel, the inside edge of the heel, and the base of the big toe on that right side. So once again, pull to the chest, push across the body. You're going to exhale, working on internal rotation on the way down. If I want to work on external rotation, on the left side, I would just go ahead and switch my stance, and I'm going to breathe in on the way down. Pull across the body, push down. Remember, as we're chopping, we're unloading the spine. We're pushing down, which means the spine is essentially being raised up as we come across the body and push into the pocket on the opposite side. So I'd want to breathe in. And so again, if we want to work on the lift, the same thing applies. If I come across my body and lift up, I'm going to be driving more internal rotation on the forward leg. Essentially, you could view this as driving external rotation on the opposite leg. I'm more focused on the forward leg. And once again, I want the inside edge of the heel, the knuckle of the big toe, the base of the big toe. I'm going to pull across my body to my chest, lift up. And then, likewise, I'm going to work on external rotation on the opposite side. So now I have my left foot forward. I'm going to be lifting, driving demand into the spine. I'm loading the spine as I come across my body and I push up, pull to the chest, and raise. And you can see as I turn my body away from my left hip, that means my left hip is opening up. I don't want that knee to come across. I want to keep that knee stable, but my pelvis, my entire upper trunk are turning away from that left hip, which means I'm getting external rotation on that left side. To the chest, back to the beginning, to the chest, overhead. Hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, we'd love to talk to you more about that. We will see you here again next time.